So hello everybody, welcome to a very unusual, I say it's unusual because we haven't done this in a long time, a live edition of the show. This is a spur of the moment thing, which I think is kind of good because it's like, it's like off the cuff, come on, let's do it. We are live at the moment on YouTube. We've got people in the chat, which is lovely. This is obviously going out to all our streaming services. So if you don't know already, we're available on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, and maybe something else. I can't remember. iTunes Podcasts. We're on them. We're on the major podcasts. And the show will be uploaded to that at a later date. But obviously YouTube is where we are. In the flesh, you can see us waving our hands and everything.
Yeah.
And there's Dan. Dan is as well the co-host of the Battle Realm and Beyond podcast. That's mine and Dan's podcast, formerly the Contest Realm podcast, but Marvel Realm of Champions is dead. Funnily enough, and speaking of mobile games that are dying, Marvel World of Heroes, Niantic have pulled the plug in developing it any further.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's a rough time.
It's a rough time
with the Marvel properties, because it's not just the games. I mean, you hear the news that's coming out from Disney thinking that they've oversaturated the market with too many movies and streaming shows, and I don't know if we're really going to get to touch on Secret Invasion anytime soon. But
oh God, yeah,
there's been a lackluster response to that show, and they haven't really had a streaming show in a little bit. So there's just, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about sort of the oversaturation, and maybe we're peak Marvel, past the Infinity War saga. So there's a lot going on, but certainly I think just what's going on with our game with Contest of Champions and everything with Kabam certainly gives us more than enough to talk about.
Absolutely. It's been a little time since we've had a chat or interacted because life's. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Wow, I mean it's been a few weeks because we haven't talked this month yet. We did take a trip to Bermuda.
Oh, lovely!
Which was very nice. We took a cruise to Bermuda.
Did you go anywhere near that triangle?
We went right through the triangle, right by the reefs and the shipwrecks, and it was a lot of fun.
You're not kind of like they weren't worried at all. Like I'd be we're going further. We're at the point. Me and Em, we are still selling the house. We are looking to get into rented accommodation in. I don't know. We're kind of negotiating something at the moment. We visited where we think we're wanting to buy a house, but we have to now wait. I think nearly a year in order to get it or it to be released. So I really hope we get it, but it's just a case now. We're kind of in limbo from the point of selling this house to going into something. It actually works out potentially cheaper by going rented versus kind of like owning a home at the moment, which is a bit of a weird thing to say. But I'm having to, of course, work two jobs effectively to kind of like cover the extra rent side of things. But so is life. Other people in the same situation to make ends meet. So it is what it is. Yeah. Apart from that, I'm having a good time in game at the moment. Battlegrounds wise, I'm finding some good movements. Today I've I did my big push to get through platinum into diamond.
Oh, nice. All right. And you're ahead of me right now. I'm still in gold too.
That's the thing. Like, I got, whenever I get windows of time, it's like, okay, let's do it. But I had a very good session today where I picked up. I mean, look, when you go into platinum, it's kind of like it's easy streaks of like who you face off against, and most of the time between platinum 3 right the way through to diamond 3, I was facing players I shouldn't, in all intents and purposes, be paired up again. But that's how it is now. That's the narrative. That's what Kabam said, that people of a certain type of prestige, champion roster size, rating, not really being meant to be getting into. I'm sure that some of them would disagree with that, but you shouldn't be able to go like, okay, well, I'm a Paragon player as well as you are, and going Cavalier players in Gladiator circuit. How the hell do you get there? Oh, I had all these matches. Bloody hell! I wish I had those matches. That was good.
Yeah. So, Rich, give us some deck MVPs. Who's helping you on this push? Who are you? Give me some top attackers, top defenders.
Okay, so I shouldn't be using those as the problem is I don't have the kind of like the good examples that are still there at the moment because it's all the easy ones that are doing well.
Yeah, go back a little farther. Who are you using in gold too?
Okay, so I can't. Funny enough, I can't get back there. But
is it too far?
Hulkling, a Mega Sentinel, Gore. Those three.
Okay.
Those are doing bits. The other ones, from an attacking point of view, I mean, it's different. If you're banning things like Archangel and Human Torch, you're fielding your spots and your Spider-Man Supremes. But to be honest, I'm not one to do that because I'm not a dick. See,
I always ban Torch. I very rarely ban Archangel because I have enough bleed immune defenders.
Yeah.
That it doesn't really mess me up.
True.
And
true.
I kind of like it when they draft an Archangel early because I usually plan to like place like, Korg, Mangog, Iron Man Infinity War, maybe Man-Thing. So I'm not really scared of Archangel, so it's kind of a wasted pick if they pick him. So I kind of use that a bit of it as a trap.
Yeah.
Is leaving Archangel out there. I would say
good.
Yeah, I would say Torch I always like to ban because there's just the Mystics are useless and like I've got a a Sig 200 Ebony Maw that I can drop in there that causes a lot of problems unless you throw that that Human Torch or maybe a Captain America Infinity War against him. That can be a problem. I will say Valkyrie has been my overwhelming MVP. On attack. The fact that she ignores the unstoppable in this meta is just ridiculous. She's so good anyway. And, I've got rank 4, Sig 200 Valkyrie. Absolutely love that champion. But for this meta in particular, the fact that you can ignore that, you don't have to dance around for a little bit. She's been amazing. I just brought Mojo to rank 4. He's been amazing. The early buff expiration, the fact you can put him on offense or defense. He crushes those Hulklings or Cersei's if you get those. Who else? Oh, Nightcrawler on defense. I think the Unstoppable really helps him.
Yeah.
You're not seeing as many people draft anti-evade attackers. I've seen a bit of Falcon, but if they don't draft Falcon, and if you're trying to hit into his block and he goes unstoppable because you're trying to get him to switch, you can be in a lot of trouble. And I have definitely been picking up wins with him on defense more than you would expect based on, in Alliance War, he's not that good of a defender anymore because you can plan for him. But in a Battlegrounds deck, he's actually been pretty useful.
So a bit of a revelation. I just remembered this. I have been toying around with the idea of bringing this classic number to so on people on screen on YouTube be able to see this. I've just put a Havoc on screen. This has been a sneaky little bastard of an extra edition.
I bet, because if you don't draft him right, draft your defense right.
Yeah.
And especially if you pick him in the last round.
Yes.
You can really cause some problems there.
Yeah. This is that was that saved me a little bit. A lot of the time, it'll be like, as soon as I've seen the draft and it's like, oh my god, there's no armor buff champion. There's no armor buff.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
Yes. I'm so excited when that happens. You're right. As soon as it's like you get the last pick and it's like he's there, I'm like, well, maybe this is gonna work in my favor.
I mean, there was a while I was keeping Hulkbuster in my deck just because of the Havocs. Because I'm like literally the only person who doesn't have a 6-star Warlock. It's so bad. It's all these decks. You see it. They've all got Hercules, Domino, Kitty Pryde, Nick Fury, Warlock up top, right?
Yeah.
And I really feel like I'm hurting that I don't have a 6-star Warlock.
I'm the same with Nick Fury. This is the champion I've been trying to hunt for like ages, and I just haven't hasn't come off. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
You were going to say it.
I would say now, as far as bans, I would say I have one champion that is auto ban the second I see him, and that is 6-star Weapon X. If I see Weapon X, you're not getting to draft Weapon X against me. You might beat me, but you're not beating me with Weapon X.
No.
I've learned that lesson. I would say it's Weapon X, Torch, probably Rintra's up there, but I'm starting to ban Domino because I'm starting to see 7-star rank 2 duped Dominoes in decks, and they are a menace, Rich. It's like that, and it's that and the 7-star Sasquatch.
Yes.
It's just a real problem, just on time.
Yeah, and the amount of like when like the release of these 7-stars came out, and people were like, I mean, I was talking about the imbalance that you'd have with going up against with prestige and matchmaking and stuff like that, and people were like, me. I'm sorry, but if your whale account has a rank 2 7-star 200 signature Sasquatch, you can go to hell.
Yeah. We thank you for keeping the servers on.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to interact with that.
No. I'm like, I got an Archangel at 6-star rank 3, and it's like, oh, I'm chipping down this damage with neurotoxins here. But
Right.
I'm like, time is going out, and I've done neurotoxins, I've done parry and heavy to the ends of the earth, and I still ain't taking down the damage anytime soon.
He's a beefy boy.
Oh, he is.
7-star Sasquatch, beefy. But yeah, I would say overall, like, I like this meta. I think it's been a fun meta. I think they're continuing to tweak Battlegrounds, and I know there's a bunch of people that are still facing bugs that cause them to auto lose. I have not run into that, so that's not been a source of frustration on my end. Have you been running into bugs, or has it been pretty clean for you this season?
Oddly clean.
I love that.
I'm very surprised because I still hear about from time to time the instant loss bug, and there's a lot of people that I face off against who don't know they've quit out, because if I assume if they've quit out, it says forfeit. Now,
right?
Is there someone up on screen? Yeah, I can get this kind of like fight with this person up on YouTube, and it doesn't for this. It doesn't say. Oh, it did say forfeit. Sorry, no, I take that back. I thought that he didn't forfeit, but I think like there's a good reason why they would have forfeit, because their champion prestige is 7,000. My champion prestige is 16,000. Their top champion is a cap. So shout out to Word of Turt. Is it Word of Turt? Wordle Turtle, sorry. I thought it said something else. I thought it said Wonder Turd, and I was thinking, that's not a right name. But like at that point, if you're seeing my roster, and I ain't got the greatest roster. I've got like I'm what 16, nearly 17,000 prestige and champion rating something. Take me just to get this bloody thing out.
But you've got some rank 5s, right?
I've got one rank 5, and I'm making a decision about the next rank 5. But I'm still facing off against accounts that are stronger than mine. Like Overseer is my only rank 5. But there's better champion. I'm facing off against when I'm fielding rank 3s versus rank 5s or 7-star rank 2s, there's a difference there. There's also a bigger difference when it comes to damage output, and that's the main thing I think for me is, look, I've got 6-star rank 3s. I'm trying to damage output, but I tell you what, those other ones are going to be a little bit better. Their duration
going to be
of time
faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So that's the issue for me there. We should go on and talk about some of Kabam's problems now, because I like talking about Battlegrounds, especially when I'm having a good season.
I know. I got to make a push too. I am enjoying it. But yeah, I think this is one of those where we got to address the elephant in the room as far as like what's been going on. And guys, sometimes Rich and I will message and we'll be like, what are we going to talk about this week? Do we even do an episode? And sometimes we're like, the show notes have already written themselves. We may not have messaged each other the show notes, but we know what's going on. And this week was, I think even if you were the most optimistic player, and I'm sure they may not admit this publicly, but I think they know internally, they took a lot of self-inflicted L's this week with this update. So I think the first one was the Mystic Crystal one. Was that the first issue that started off this week? Was the Mystic Crystals?
No, it was the Express mode. Arena Express mode.
Arena Express mode was the first thing.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just so. I don't know where to. I really don't know where to start with it. But it's like one of these unexpected things. I think it was close. I don't know if it was the start of the week when the new update went in, but it kind of felt like it was Wednesday morning. For me, Wednesday morning. So it could have been Tuesday evening. But I don't know if that's when the update went in. It kind of feels like that's 24 hours after the update came in, with the update coming on Monday. Yeah. I could be wrong with that. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's like...
It's really rough. And, I know... Anytime there's issues like this, it creates this, there's a lot of, the message boards are on fire. It's like, does Kabam care? Are they incompetent? Is it this or is it that? I mean, part of me thinks this is just the continued fallout of some of the layoffs and staffing and communication issues. Because you're really, like, when you see, like, this many issues in an update, and then we get into like sort of the miscommunication around things like the root mechanic and Craven and Baron Zemo and all that, and it seems like Jax and Mike and are trying to communicate these things, but they don't have all the information, and the team that's doing balancing isn't talking to the team that does the bug fixes. So it seems like there's like some structural things here that are causing all of these issues for them.
Yeah, and that's going to be the thing where we don't have that kind of business knowledge of what goes on at Kabam. We obviously see it on an outside perspective, as you said. The communication factors of having someone in that may have been, you could say Kabam Zibbit. I assume that he was laid off in May. Was he a linchpin between communication of one place, another place, getting information, communicating it into the community management team so that it can then go out to messaging? Again, don't know, just assuming. In this last kind of like, 2 years, we have seen a game development tightening the belt. Let's refer it to that when it comes to...
And not just Kabam. This is industry-wide. We've seen this. This is not just a Kabam issue.
Yeah,
from that respect.
Yeah, the particular game that I was working towards being released in 2025 was going to be funded for all those years, an extensive amount. I don't know if whether that game that we developed it for 1.5 years, and it's just then like that. And that's the problem is with that was made at corporate level. I can't reveal much with the publishing side of things, but when the publisher, unfortunately, similar to Netmarble, they're shareholders. Funnily enough, as soon as a lot of projects, including the one I was working on, was cut, stock price went up, share price went up. So it means that the company's more profitable.
They do it, right? Because they're looking at it from, if we remove an expense, the company's more profitable in the immediate short term. So that's how a lot of corporate decisions get made.
Yeah, which is sad.
They got to hit a quarterly number.
Yeah, and it's sad, really, because then it's
real people are the casualties of that.
Yeah, you never then know what could happen. It could, the game could have been like great or could have been a flop.
Yeah.
The same thing with the movie industry at the moment. It's like I know there's a lot of people that are. They're protesting. I didn't know what protesting actually. It was striking.
The actors are on strike.
Yeah.
Now it's
But the problem is with Hollywood, it's just ballooned to what? And the question is, why does every movie have to cost $200 million to make?
Yeah.
Why does it need to be over expensive? And that's the problem with stories. Like stories have become so. Well, I don't know. Some stories have just become just terrible in just construction. I mean, people aren't really into some of the franchises and IPs anymore. You look at Flash. You look at, and that's I'm not saying there's a concern that maybe Kabam would have.
Yeah.
Marvel Realm of Champions. It'd be interesting to see what happens with
King Arthur.
Yeah. I mean, we're all rooting for them. I can't be kind of like I love to see new games being in development. I love the fact they've taken a risk with something, and I hope it comes off. I really do. It's kind of weird being somebody that's from the southwest of England, where we've got Glastonbury, we've got the story of Avalon, and it's a very prevalent story within my childhood as well as I wouldn't say a lot of Brits, but some Brits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. Well, again, we'll have to see how that kind of turns out. But then
Yeah.
that's a decision of like, well, was any, because obviously the rumor was, some resource pulled from Kabam to go to King Arthur side of things, or
Right.
was,
I mean, this is the same. You could have the same debate that you had when they were doing Mirrorverse or MROC or any of the other games that they do. Is as it always from a MCOC centric standpoint, there's always going to be players saying, it's like, well, you're taking our resources that should be reinvested in our game
yeah,
and putting it in another game. Now, that's part of the deal. There's no company in the world that isn't going to take money from a winner and try to develop a new product. But at the same time, like, it's hard to look at everything that happened this week and feel like MCOC is getting the resources the game needs to push updates this big
yeah,
right now. Like, I think the real one for me that bothers me is the Alliance War placement crash. Because, this isn't like something out of nowhere where it's like, okay, the Mystic Crystal thing was bad.
yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong. Or what happened with Arena Express. Not good. But Alliance War placement, this persistent placement thing was probably in development for what, 6 months, a year?
yeah,
Like, this is a tentpole update of a featured game mode, right? And it's supposed to really improve quality of life for everyone. And we've seen this before, right? Like, when there's big Alliance Quest updates, sometimes they have to cancel a series or something like that. Thank goodness they did this in the off season and not the first war of a new season.
absolutely.
But it's really hard to look at that and say, like, oh, like you've got this big launch that they've been gearing up for, that they know is coming, that they've been telling us about, and like, it literally makes it so that you can't play war because you can't even match. That's just that one was hard to swallow from a like standpoint of like looking at like how did we get here?
Yeah, this is the thing. Like 2 weeks ago, when we had that live stream, which I think was July 7th, I think. Where was it?
Was this the
July 7th? Yeah, it was July 7th.
Yeah, July 7th. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I ended that live stream and I was just like, oh, I want to tell Kabam, like, this is great. This is what I want to see from you.
Yeah.
A roadmap of like what you're doing where. And it was like, I was getting like in such a good mood because I was thinking Incursions is getting that kind of like improvement. We're going to see new victory seeding within Battlegrounds. I know some people like it, some people don't, but I love it. Like, that idea of going, look, you worked so hard, and then it's like, instead of you having to go back and do 45 to 50 matches to get back up into Gladiator Circuit, you then get to kind of start back at a certain point, which is good, because if you go one season, I'll just have this season off. At least you know that some of the best players won't be matched against you as they get into Gladiator Circuit, because a lot of people don't like the idea of victories track because a lot of the competitive fighting exists within Gladiator Circuit. So the idea of going from what is pre-Gladiator Circuit to Gladiator Circuit seems kind of like but these kind of things just maybe kind of like, do you know what, this makes me really happy about the future of the game, or at least for the end of 2023. It's just in such a weird kind of like just reality slap in the face this week as to these things of going, great, well, if this is what's going to happen with this feature that Kabam said they were going to put in,
right,
bit of realism has to be for the future of some of these other systems they want to put in, as to like, god damn, are we gonna, like, me and you gonna be talking in a month's time, 2 months time, 3 months time?
Can they execute? It's not that they don't get there. Like, I'm sure persistent placement will work, but we've talked about this before. It's, there's just a lot of issues with player trust right now about, can you smoothly and effectively pull off these new initiatives on the first try.
Yes.
And build some positive momentum and build some wins as we go into something like the Battle Realm Brawl that they've announced, which, again, I think is great that they're doing a competitive tournament thing, that they're going to go back to face-to-face interactions and do the
Yeah.
tournament in Vancouver and host a player summit. I think that's one of the things we've really missed post 2019 and the lack of the New York Comic-Con presence. But you also don't want a bunch of angry and depressed players showing up in Vancouver in October.
No, exactly. That's a very good point. We'll talk about let's talk about Battleground Brawl. We'll then go back and talk about some of the other subjects.
Sure.
I've said I really would like to attend, but it's such a difficult time for me as to like, am I able to do it?
It's a tough time for me too. I'm going to try to make it out there. It's in the middle of my busy season, but so I'm going to try to get away for the weekend. But yeah, it's also not cheap. I mean, it's probably $2,000 to $3,000 to get out there, and back.
Is that for you?
Yeah,
that's weird because that's the same for me as well.
Yeah,
and it's like that's mad. I that's the thing that worries me when it comes to a like it comes at a weird time because this is just the case. We got to get this new house. Me and Em, we've been looking at We're looking at stuff today, and the worry with the UK is we got this kind of it's referred to as a cost of living crisis. They kind of just how they explain things like because of how the inflation rises, it means that wages have to increase in order to kind of afford things like basic necessities. I think
so you stay even. Your quality of life stays even. Yeah.
But the problem is every time there's a wage increase, it means that then things are kind of like expanded up unless there's a demand created in the economy for certain elements, and then
they call it a wage spiral, right?
Spiral.
It's like, we see our customers are getting paid more so they can afford to pay a higher price, and then everyone asks for a raise because stuff's more expensive, and that's called a wage spiral.
And this is why in recent years I've now do 2 jobs. I have my day job, I then have an evening job, and I'm thinking about trying to sort something out with some other kind of like money making opportunities. And it may be a case of like M starts editing videos for the channel so I can then kind of work on my second channel. But that's the point where we're up to now. Like M is going to have to start working evenings at some point, and it's like when do we come to this particular point? But the point really to get to money, and sadly, you need money.
It's amazing how expensive everything continues to get, and then you got to move. Or right now, my truck's in the shop, needs a new starter. I'm looking forward to getting that bill.
Yeah,
it's one of those that it's all. I think we're all kind of feeling that right now. It's the way of the world. It's always something, and some things keep happening really, really quickly. So.
Yeah, even I just thought so. Chat like Chris said about like they should come and host us. That would have been cool. But I think it would be debatable going like, okay, well they paid for community, like, see if that went out, CCP members had their room paid for, had their flights paid for, and with people that have been laid off at Kabam and also the community looking at that, I think it would be very questionable. I would personally say no. I'm sure a lot of the CCP members would say no because it's just an all good consciousness. I'd be like, great, fantastic, but then there's that thing of thinking like, I just would not sit well with me for that one. But I think it's just a case of like, I'm likely it's 90%. I'm 90%. I would say won't be able to afford it, just because if I kind of go that, say if it works out at £2,000, $3,000, it would be better for that to be put into the pot for the new house versus the trip, and then have a look at when I'm settled in the new house. Then go next year if Kabam do it, which they are keen on actually continuing in a future thing, that it would be possible. And then it's like saying like, right, well, different circumstances might be able to say, well, me and M could come, but at this stage it would be me flying out, maybe alone. I don't know, unless there's something that could be worked out with like doing it on the cheap, but it's not really possible unless you fly to America. Like I think if I fly to New York and New York up, it's cheaper, but I don't want to do that hassle, especially because it means I have to book days off. And if you book days off, then yeah, it's then I don't really want to
Yeah,
book all my time
it's
off.
tricky. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people said it's like it's cheaper to fly into Seattle than Vancouver, but then you've got to get from Seattle to Vancouver and back, and I don't know. I've kind of looked at it, and I think I'm kind of at the point, Rich, where I'm old and I need as few steps as possible. So if
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna pay a little bit extra money and just fly. Like I'm flying direct. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I want to go. I want to go Boston, Vancouver. I don't want to layover. I want to go to Seattle and then get in a a train or as much as it would probably be super awesome. I think
Yeah.
there's a ferry between like Seattle and Vancouver, and I've been out there to both Seattle and Vancouver before, and it's gorgeous. It's Vancouver's a super fun city, so I think anyone who's going. You're going to have a great time. I'm going to try to make it out there. I haven't been in like a decade. We actually went out there for our honeymoon. It's a fantastic city. Aquarium's amazing. Just super, super scenic. That Pacific West Coast of America is beautiful.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
So,
but it's 10-hour flight.
Yeah, it's
plus,
it's probably 5 or 6 for me. So yeah, it's probably 10 for you.
Yeah, and I think if I wanted to be on, I would prefer doing a direct flight. I mean, doing New York was okay. Weirdly enough, I got on my that was getting over my fear of flying. So prior to that, I had a fear of flying. So I was like,
really?
Yeah. There are two things actually. When I went to New York, two phobias I got over: claustrophobia and fear of flying. Weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
I pushed myself through for that. It was, so the first thing was when I went to, I did go a little 2-hour flight, but that's 2 hours is 2 hours. But when I went to New York, it was like, I was a bit unsure about this, especially kind of like going over, but I did it and it was fine. I actually really enjoyed it. Watched a few movies, drank red wine. It was I had a great time.
You took the edge off.
Yeah, I flew with. I think I saw Chris in chat, and I don't know if he's had a bad experience with Delta because I know he uses airlines quite a bit. But I had a really nice flight with Delta. It was better than Virgin Atlantic.
All right. Yeah,
which is weird. The other thing was when I went to the hotel, we stayed opposite from Madison Square Garden. Yep. The first day I was like, I need to use the stairs. I'm claustrophobic. I can't use. Trying to explain that. The problem is UK. I was like, the lift.
Mm-hmm.
The lift? You mean the car lift? I think did I tell you this story? I told Chris.
I think so.
Yeah, I told you this story. Where I was like, lift, because obviously that's a different thing in America.
Yeah.
The elevator. Can I have the access to the stairs? And it was like, you want to use the stairs? Yeah, I'm claustrophobic. I don't like elevators. I don't like confined spaces. Can I use the stairs? And it's like such a hassle No hassle, but first of all, hassle to kind of get access to the stairs. Like I've basically just ruined this person's day, and I was like,
why are you asking me this question? Nobody does this.
There's no fire, why do you want to go upstairs? It was like, look, I'm claustrophobic, so I need to go upstairs. So it was 21 floors. I think it was 21 floors, and I was literally wringing with sweat by the time I kind of got up there.
Oh yeah.
And when I'd done that 3 times, I was like, do you know what? I am never going. And that's it. I can't do it. And I think I go to the gym for about an hour, and then that was down in the basement, and then go back up to the 21st floor, which would be like the 22nd, 23rd, whatever floor from there. And I was like, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm getting in a bloody elevator, and did it. And I was like, I don't like this moment. And then by the time I've done it about 10 times the trip to New York, I was like, yeah, I guess I've got over it.
You immersed yourself in the experience and. You got over it, like you said.
Yes, just because I was like, I am too lazy for this shit.
Yeah, those buildings are way too tall to be doing. You don't.
Yeah, we kind of like.
Your knees don't need that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the great thing about the podcast. We derail into some tidbits and stories.
We take tangents, folks. Yeah. But Rich, you wanted to talk some more about sort of the issues from this week. Was there anything that really stood out to you that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, we haven't gone into the Mythic crystal situation, which was very weird. I've got video coming out a little bit later on exploring a discussion with somebody on Twitter. They said that because I was like, oh, this is the biggest exploit ever, and they were like, yeah, but do you remember the time we had the dimensional crystal issue of 2017? And I was like, God damn, That's going back nearly
there
6
was-
years.
There was that, and was it Mutant Treasure Island where instead of like one awakening gem, you could get like 30 awakening gems?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Back when that really meant something.
Oh God, I think I might have messed up that video. I should cull it and kind of like add in some extra tidbits of information or a pinned comment saying, "Hey, by the way, do you remember Mutant Treasure Island?" Because that's kind of like, I remember that now. That got bans as well.
That one did get bans. That was the last one I can remember where they're like, you guys should have known better that was off. Kind of like what they said with these Mystic crystals, right?
Yeah.
Like you should know that 1,450 Mystic crystals was not the real reward for this quest.
Yeah. I think the way that I phrased not phrased, but kind of pointed the video, was about the fact that how much it affects the value meta currently at the moment.
Sure.
Because when I look back, people were getting 4 stars, 5 stars from the dimensional crystals, and obviously got those awakening gems from what they did. When it came to the Mutant Treasure Island, the biggest thing about this is we're in a current situation where 7 stars are some of the most valuable things at the moment. The 6-star champions that people were pulling, and maybe dupes of shards, meant that they were able to access 6-star featured crystals. So these are going to be newer champions. So the way that I was looking at, it also reflects on max signature. It was basically, in a nutshell, the work that me and you would have done over the space of 2 years, in the space of 10 minutes. Somebody would have been able to do that work.
Right, and there's all the gold and ISO.
Oh yeah,
like you said, all the shards from the dupes. It was crazy. Did they ever say like what was the actual like root of that issue? Why everyone got all those crystals?
Well, this was down to the objective. In selected for the objective, someone had put 1,250 mythic crystals that you could select, rather than 1,250 mythic shards. So the shards and crystals.
I think didn't something similar that happen in I think it was Future Fight a few years ago where they actually they were supposed to give out a few thousand shards and it went in as crystals instead of shards and they had to pull a lot of that back. I seem to remember something like that.
I wouldn't doubt it for a second that something like that has happened. And that's at that point we don't really know the extent of how much work this is going to be for Kabam, especially in in a week where it was just nuts.
This wasn't the only thing they had to deal with.
Yeah.
That was time sensitive.
Well, the side quest got sorted out very early. It was so funny. Somebody, when I was going through when I was doing my video, the side quest guide video, and this was I don't know, I think about 2 hours after everything just went nuts because we had to kind of cover so many things on that day in a quick. I got to the portal bit, the champion choice thing, and it was saying portal to different locations, and I was in the video, you can see it if anybody watched the recorder. I was like, I don't think this is right. I don't think this is correct. This is broken. The amount of people so adamant it was working as intended. And that was surprising because I was like, no, this isn't right. And it was, so not right because you would then ping to all these different locations, picking up all these rewards, which I don't know if people are going to be able to keep them. That's the only bug at the moment Kabam have been relatively silent on, and that indication of they're actually going to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it is a tough one.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing because you don't know whether they just haven't got to it or they don't care.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing about this situation because Kabam have to kind of now figure out they've got multiple fires at the moment.
Yeah,
and they're kind of thinking what do we douse? What do we encircle round an earth mound to stop for now, and fight in a different kind of direction, like a forest fire at one part of the forest and then go into the other one. That's a great analogy. I'm going to run with it.
It's your order of importance, right?
Yeah,
and there's always a lot of friction between what the players think is important and what Kabam thinks is.
Yeah.
Important, but it's funny though because we haven't had one like this in a side quest for a little bit, but I remember back a couple years you and I would talk about this constantly with the side quests, how dangerous the first 2 hours of the side quest were each month.
Yeah.
And, you think about things like that Odin's Gauntlet or Mutant Treasure Island or Jubilee's Arcade, where, like, just the wacky stuff was happening in the first couple hours of that. And I was like, well, is this how it's supposed to work? And there was always these debates every month. It's like, is this working how it's supposed to? And then people got so worried about it that even when it was working as intended, no one believed it.
Yeah.
Because they were so used to, like, oh, and now I lost an entry fee, or this happened, or was I supposed to get this reward? And it's just not a very fun way to play the game.
I think any time a side quest comes out, it's like stepping on hot coals.
Yeah, I mean, we used to put out, like, public service announcements, be like, guys, just don't jump in like 10 minutes after this thing goes live. Like,
yeah.
Just wait. Please just wait, because you never know.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a crucial thing, isn't it? And the funny thing is, it comes at a time where Kabam have shifted this narrative to go, we're going to focus more on side quests, as that's something that came out from the Act 8.3 beta, that they said that they were going to be focusing more on the side quest side of things than the other, which for me, I enjoy side quests more and kind of like the monthly stuff. I think it's mainly the reason I enjoy it because it's fresher and it's new. Rather than something that's kind of like a story mode, or it's the permanent content, or arena, which can be very repetitive, but is essential if you're a non-spending player in the game to get things like deals and other things, or as Kabam say, potions, revives, and stuff like that. I just like it because it's fresh, and I'm glad that Kabam are thinking that way. But again, it will circle back to resourcing side of things. Well, when stuff like this happens, do they have to revisit the way that they're putting together quests and things? It's a tough one.
It is. I mean, I think they are. You can see they're trying to evolve where this is going. I think they're trying to figure out where the time is best spent. Like, clearly, they're cutting down paths in the rest of Act 8. We know about that. We haven't seen a variant in forever.
No.
They continue to push Battlegrounds. They're giving some updates to Alliance War. So, I mean, you can just see from the release notes and the roadmap, like, where they think, the time is best spent in terms of ROI. Yeah,
I think that's the numbers game, isn't it? And I think you hit nail on the head there with Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds has become this by accident, like, decent mode. Like, it came out completely by accident to be a mode that a lot of players play. And this is the thing, I complained about that mode. I criticized it, and I'm playing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most fun you can have in MCOC when it's working.
Yeah,
when I turn on my game, that is the mode that I feel most inspired to play first.
Yeah.
Even if I've only got like 10 minutes, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to jump in and do one round.
Yeah.
I would rather do that than a side quest. I'd rather do that than the event quest. I'd rather do that than, like, maybe I'll do some arena if I'm really tired. But if I'm jumping in, the Battlegrounds is almost certainly the first thing I'm going to play in the game.
The way that I have changed my thought process around Battlegrounds is based on what Kabam said they're going to do to it and have done to it to improve. I love the 2 medals a win, one lose one for the loss. Love that. I think that's brilliant.
That's something we talked about a bunch. I got kicked around in the CCP server and chats like forever for the first 6 seasons. Is like, we got to do something here. This doesn't feel good. That one change solved so many problems for this mode.
Yeah, that's the thing. As soon as they start making these little improvements, it has made me more interested to play the mode. And that's the sad thing about it, is the length of time it's taken to get to this point.
Sure.
And that's fine. I mean, look, it's a slow burn for greatness, but a slow burn for non-greatness when it comes to other modes is another thing. Like, I don't know if people will get overly hyped to play Incursions. I still enjoy playing Incursions, and I think I will enjoy playing it more as the new improvements come in. I don't know if it's going to be something that will be defibrillating, bringing it back to the forefront of people's interests, an idea to go, hang on, let's go and grind a little bit of incursions. With these new improvements, it may be a case that players go, well, it's good pace, the rewards are better, I find it interesting. And those are the three things that Battlegrounds has massive thumbs up, and Incursions kind of, but I think that's the problem when it comes to niche stuff. Like, this month I'm playing a lot more Battlegrounds because we have to, because of the 400k milestone for solo.
Sure.
And for me, normally I would probably only go up as far as gold with Battlegrounds and do a lot more arena grind. That was my new plan, but this month and season has been changed because of this. And also I have to do Act 8.2, 4 and 5 and 6 100%. All my extra time at the moment is just Battlegrounds, because I'm having fun this season because of the rewards at the end of it.
Well, but I think for me it's, the rewards from Battlegrounds, they're still really good for where I'm at. I like the store. I like that you can kind of pick what you're getting out of it with the tokens, but I think it's just engaging. Like, it's quick and engaging. And it's made me appreciate some champs that I didn't appreciate before. I've learned some new things about some of my champs. And it's not always the same matchup, right? Like, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like, okay, like, I got to figure out how to deal with Nick Fury or Hulkling or Domino or whatever in this meta. But, sometimes it's like, oh, like, how do I deal with Wiccan or something like that? And then you learn, like, you start finding, like, or Wong. Wong's a great one, right? Like, where, like, I don't think I really understood, like, defensively, like, how to avoid, like, some of his damage. And then, because I just hadn't played him a bunch. And then you start digging in, you're like, oh, I know how to handle this guy. This isn't that bad. I feel good. I learned something. That's what I really like about Battlegrounds is I feel like it's walking that line where, like, it's not like they swap in a meta and it's like, oh, I got to take out my top 20 champs out of my deck. Like, they're useless. Like, that was the complaint going back to some of the tweaks they made to Alliance War years and years ago, where it's like, oh, like, I ranked up these champions for attack and now it's a bleed immune meta and they're useless. And people wanted rank down tickets. But it's like, I feel like my top champs are pretty much useful for pretty much every meta, but maybe I'm tweaking 3 or 4 or 5 champs at the bottom of the deck. Or I'm ranking one champ up for a certain meta. That feels like the right balance.
This is what I've been trying to do more of a strategy and see if it works. I don't 100% know if this has actually worked or not, but I'm trying to avoid to rank up a lot of my champions and inflate and recruit my prestige, because I don't want to get into situations of kind of unfair matchmaking. So far, this only kind of comes into fruition, I'd say gold onwards. I think when I had a conversation with Kabam John, it gave the impression that this is where that particular point your matchmaking becomes better. The problem is, it's like, well, the top end of Paragon with those rank 2 7-stars, they are basically the experience against you that you would have an experience against the lower players, like Uncollected in Platinum. I may have butchered that a little bit, but that's kind of like the impression I got from that game. They may get, like, if you've got like a stonking well-right roster, you may be stomping from bronze all the way up to silver, got a little bit of a rough gold period, and then it's smooth sailing into Gladiator Circuit from there, quite possibly.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it with, like, victory shields. Like, victory shields right now for me, if I'm going to use them, it's gold 1 and vibranium. Those are the two places where those matter, because I know that the matchmaking is going to open up for me once I hit platinum, and then I'm going to run through diamond. So it's like, well, you don't, you want to use them where you're going to get stuck. Or it's good, maybe not get stuck, but going to take longer. You want to smooth out the rough parts. Because I think what you see is you see people bunch up in certain areas, right? Like, you see it at the kind of gold 2, gold 1 level where there's a lot of veteran rosters. Like, even we've got 10 days left in the season, and I'll pop in, and it's like, there's still plenty of players with multiple rank 5, 6 stars hanging out in gold too.
Yeah.
Like there's some rosters a lot bigger than mine.
Yes.
That I'm running into, and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. But then, you get to platinum, and you've kind of got those players that have been protected by the matchmaker. You're able to face them. But as you get higher up into diamond, and certainly once you hit vibranium, like very few of those players can make it through there. So then once again, you're running into mostly paragons, and it's a much more even matchmaker because of what the pool is.
Yeah,
not
true.
because anyone's being protected.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. One thing that we haven't touched on, we touch on briefly, route mechanic and communication around that. This was something that I kind of missed off, and then I was kind of like, preparing some stuff.
I kind of missed it too, because it was in a different part of the forum.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. There's just so many messages to keep track of. When you posted that video this morning, I was like, oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, honestly, I can't keep track. There's the Trello board. Like I was looking at the Trello board for a while, and then it just seemed like it was never getting updated. And I looked today, as I usually record on Sundays, the MCN, and I noticed there's actually a mention of I don't know, I'll get it up on the YouTube screens if you're watching this. I'll just try and find the bit that mentions it. So something that I've encountered was this that was put on the 20th of June by Kabam Mike, which says Quicksilver can break opponent's block after they dex his SP1. Now, I ran into that and thought that was me playing like a tit. But in fact, that's something I didn't even know that's an issue and a bug. So it just goes to show you this Trello board has things on it that you just don't expect. And it's a problem because then when something appears in game, that communication is so paramount because you want to go, is it me? Is it the champion? What the actual blinking L is going on?
Yeah. So I don't know, anyone in chat, how are you guys? We were getting ranked down tickets for Craven.
Yeah.
Not for Baron Zemo, with the justification being that this bug was identified during Baron Zemo's balancing phase.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, this one, it's so tricky because this seems like kind of that example again of like the different teams in Kabam not talking to each other and some, not realizing how these different changes were going to impact it, right? Because you've got what one team is probably thinking of as a bug fix affecting a champion's core mechanic.
Yeah, I noticed that in chat, Valerie says root nerf of Baron Zemo is not so a game changer. You need not to reach SP3. It's mainly for Craven. There's a really interesting video in the thread that mentions this, that showcases the wildest. I'm talking like some of the if you're a good Craven player, you can literally suppress any champion. I saw I think at 1.66 bleed ticks plus complete suppression of Red Hulk. And it was just like, it was throwing no special attacks. It was just, it had SP3 up, but it was just being suppressed constantly. And that's that routing in place that's there. And it's like, okay, people will say, well, that's OP. That's, it shouldn't be able to do that. That's that. But it's like, when you find some good strategy within the game, you have to then go, hang on a minute. Is this damage going to do so much that it's going to raise some eyebrows with Kabam? Are Kabam likely to nerf this down the line? Right. Even worse so, because this is like a mole man situation in that what you were using the champion for, well, not using champion because you have to make that decision going, was I using Craven at this point to do a complete suppression of power? Sure. But it's a situation of, this has been a bug for a while that we didn't know was a bug. The communication factor is it was going to be fixed at some point, but maybe wasn't conveyed very well to the community for it. And that's why it's a surprise to everybody. Well, obviously, in this case, Craven fans. And that's why we got ranked down tickets.
kind of like the She-Hulk's heavy back in the day. Like,
Yes.
there's nothing in the game or the description to tell you weren't supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah. Unless you're Metal Sonic Dude, who post Nerf at 2019 New York Comic Con, basically was told by everybody watching, going, "Why are you using She-Hulk? She's been nerfed." And it's like, this guy's got like timing better than.
Yeah, I remember that, because when he picked She-Hulk, there was an audible like gasp, like he had made some horrible mistake, and then he proceeded to school everybody.
Yeah. That's what I hope. There's more moments like that at Battle Realm Brawl.
Yeah.
Because that was just like, if you weren't there in 2019 New York Comic Con, you just won't know about the experience in that room.
Yeah, but it was like it was really like this feeling like, oh, this poor kid.
Yeah.
What has he done? And then of course it went completely the other way. But yeah, I agree with you. Like Battle Realm Brawl, like even some of the tournaments that they did. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but it was one of like the early online tournaments. I forget the player, but he used Doctor Strange.
And it was I think it's Invincible.
Yes, Invincible. And it was like a symphony. Like watching him play like Doctor Strange. You know, this is years post Nerf. Yeah. No one's talking about Doctor Strange. And you know, you're talking about one of the OG players of the game playing Doctor Strange back from when that character was God mode.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to see that. Like I love it, exactly like you're saying. Like when you see a player like just open your eyes as to what is possible with the champion is really, really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Right, I think we've got a lot of our subject matter covered of what we were going to talk about.
I think the only thing we haven't touched on, and we can do it real quick, is just the Kabam marketing email.
Oh yeah, one.
We gotta talk about that.
Okay.
So I mean, this is one of those things that looks a lot worse than it is.
It is, yeah. Right.
Like I understand why it upsets people, and you know, as a guy who's in marketing for his day job, like I can tell you, there's no good way to like talk about this stuff internally, and then if it's kind of exposed to your customers, that the customers are going to feel good, because no one wants to feel like a number or a conversion or an ROI, but like that's just how marketing works.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it to like put it up on
but
screen at the moment.
It was kind of wild to see that unfiltered text of like, this is the strategy here.
Yeah. Where is it? I'm trying to find the message. Oh yeah, there it is. I just found it. So for those watching on YouTube, we'll read it out. So the message, which Kabam Mike said, it was kind of like, it's just something that goes out like a copy paste type thing, and then they just kind of like, I don't know, remove it. But it comes from what did it say? It was like a development feature something or other. I covered it in a video if anybody wants to go and check out that video. So it says the goals of the feature, how does it benefit players, ? What KPIs would improve, increase overall conversion rates, improve players' LTV, improve revenue per DAC, because we know the value of the items in our game, brackets for each PRG, progression I assume. This gives us a competitive advantage over games that do not have this feature. Might be nice to include a potential mock view, and then it just goes into the greeting summoners and then the silk preview bundles. And it was like, I mean, it's same thing with me. Like my job's like marketing at the moment, and I was looking at it going like, that.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. But I mean, you know, see the comments, like the purpose of the in-game mail is to sell us rather than being informative. I mean, the purpose is both.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, at the end of the day, like we have to realize that yes, there is going to be a sales component to this. The game does not run on our free playtime.
Yeah.
We do have to sell stuff.
That's the thing.
There's going to be sales there, and I realize people don't like that kind of thrown in their face, and certainly when you see, you know, the man behind the curtain trying to sell you something, it gets icky. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, but it's always there. It's always going to be there. And that's
yeah,
not just with MCOC. Like, I don't care whether it's your favorite band, emailing me like, "Hey, we got a new single out." Like, they want you to buy the single. It's not just like, "FYI, you like our music." Like, we thought this would make you feel better, and
yeah.
it is totally without any sort of ulterior motives. Like, there's some commerce there.
Yeah, the way that it came off, I was like, well, how do I approach this from a video sense to explain it? And it was exactly what you just said. It's like, look, this is part and parcel marketing. This is kind of like marketing 101. The game wants to make money, needs to make money. That's can be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. But scary thing, is there a scary thing to it? Well, it kind of puts you behind the curtain as to like how they're dealing with it. That's the way to kind of approach it. But here's the thing: you don't have to spend any money on the game if you don't want to. But it was kind of like one of these things. It was L week for Kabam. They spent a lot of time doing this and walking around.
They did, and that's that's not the kind of stuff you want to see. So
No.
I'm sure they were internally very embarrassed by that one.
Yeah.
I know, like no one likes making a mistake, and copy paste will get you every time. You gotta be super careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean that's how marketers look at stuff. I know we're making jokes about ROI and KPIs, but yeah, like if you send out an email blast, like you're looking at conversion rates and how much you sold out of that, or an in-game message, like I guarantee you they're looking at like how many people open that email, and like they probably can see like, did you go directly to the crystal tab and buy?
Yeah.
Like that's someone's job to look at. Like,
yeah.
I know we don't like to think about it, but someone's looking at that.
Yeah. Because they're going to look at like, wording. Did we word it well enough that people got
absolutely
intrigued?
Wording, timing, images. Like what do we say about the champions? I mean, it's the same thing. Like the deep dives are not in existence solely for our educational benefit.
Yeah, true.
They are a marketing tool.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I know they're not. I know they're presented as sort of like a reveal, and they are trying to teach us about the champs, but they're also trying to get us excited about the champs and drive crystal sales and engagement in the game.
Well, that's the thing. If I was running the marketing department of Kabam, I would be doing things like, I don't want to say it out loud because it's just giving bloody ideas. I'm gonna say it anyway. Screw it. That I delay the deep dives each month and make them like an important thing for you to go and see. I probably make sure that they're definitely close to 8 minutes each month, but I would put pre-release bundle links to the web store in every video of those deep dives. So it would be at some point in the first week of the month, you get to access you watch the deep dive thing, maybe even put like a special offer or a deal with it that gets you kind of interested to click that link in the description to take you to the web store. And then the other one 2 weeks after. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud because you kind of think, because some of the Kabam's going, oh, fucking hell, that's a good idea.
Yeah, Rich. This guy's onto something. I've always wondered why I think they've started to release them like one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday. I've wondered why they don't space those out more. Because I always feel like one champion runs over another champion, right?
Yeah.
As far, whether it's in terms of interest in hype. But yeah, I mean, so deep dive videos are basically an advert. They are an advert.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. And I say this as a marketer who makes advertisements all day long, every day. Like there's nothing sinister about that. It's just the reality of the situation. Yes, if Kabam is self-producing content, they do want that content to showcase their game in the best possible light, and for that to drive sales of the game. That is what it is. So you just gotta understand that's where it's coming from, and that's why we always say, like, watch the deep dive, watch what people put out, but at the end of the day, like, you have to decide for yourself, get some hands-on experience with the champ if you can, to decide, is it really worth your resources? Do you really enjoy playing them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to, you have to look at it through that lens.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I don't do coverage of deep dives anymore, because it's, well, the problem with doing it is you are I'm advertising for Kabam on that particular. I mean, like when I kind of like talk about deals and stuff like that, then through proxy, I am doing advertisement work for Kabam. So it's like you've got to be as careful as possible with the coverage. I'll leave it for other people to do that. But going to our poll that we start at the beginning of the podcast, we asked the question to you. How do you feel after Kabam's scuffy week? The poll ended at 15% good, 31% do not care, and 54%, so predominantly half of everybody, well, kind of half of everybody, through technicality, said they feel bad after this particular week. Obviously, that's not really it's a gauge of the room. I'm sure that people feel differently about this. I think a good compensation maybe in order to make people feel a little bit. But nice, thank you for playing the game.
Yes, they need some good sort of summoner engagement. Stuff. But really, they just need a nice update that works and that is calm. And they need to get Alliance War working. I think it's really important to have a good first season with this new Alliance War placement issue, because it's not like we had issues last season.
Yeah.
Before we had this placement stuff. So, like, they can't be, like, canceling wars or canceling a season. Like, they really need a clean Alliance War season coming up when they get that launch. So, do we want to take a couple questions from the chat?
Sounds good. Yep. So going on a few things, I should really scroll up a little bit. Yes, Jesus. That's weird. Jesus, sorry, I should say Jesus. I always read Jesus as Jesus. Says that I need to remove this. This poll just keeps end the poll.
Keeps popping up.
Thinking poll. Jesus says they nerf Root but not Hercules. I don't know if they'd ever be able to get away with it. Nerfing Hercules, I think it would just cause too much of an uproar. Hello to Neopodem. And yeah, if you've got any questions, throw them in. No, we're not going to do that. This year is people starting to see through pre-release offers as not worth their money since 7 stars are coming. That's why they added 7-star shards. And that's the other thing is like, how heavy do you go as a whale? Well, if you're a whale, the heavier you go into 7 stars now puts you in a fantastic platform for the future. But for minnows or people that don't spend quite as much and free to play, you will start feeling very soon this kind of, so Titan crystals, and people are able to get Titan crystals, this kind of gap is going to get really, really wide.
Do you think they'll ever do a 7-star Hercules? I
got a good answer for that. I'll go to your answer in a minute when they put in a 6-star Quake.
Okay, then we're never getting 7-star Hercules.
Yeah, exactly.
We are never, ever getting 6-star Quake.
No,
it's never happening. So, if that's your answer, I think there's like a 1% chance we get 7-star Hercules.
Yeah.
But there is a 0% chance there's any future star level of Quake. She's getting phased out.
Yeah.
And you'll see it like Act 9, they'll probably ban 5 stars. And then it's, that'll be the last gasp for Quake if you're still using her.
Yeah, true. Right. More questions if you've got them. Going on.
All right, 6-star Magic? Maybe.
Yeah, the problem is it's down to chip damage from her signature ability.
Yeah.
Is that a signature ability?
It's the limbo?
Lock. The problem is the limbo. Like, what is it called? What's the thing with Domino? What's it called? It's called the critical. what is it called? That thing, that chip damage, that unavoidable damage.
Oh yeah, her critical failure.
Critical failure, is it? Yeah, critical failure. But that's the same thing as well. When there's too much unavoidable damage, it puts like this kind of ecosystem of, well, I can be in Battlegrounds and it's like, oh, I've just like all that's kind of like, thank you, Ian. Like it's just like your health is just like tick, 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 gone. And it's like if the AI is being passive, then you're like, great, well, I'm not able to kind of do anything. I've just been.
That's interesting because I thought the issue with Magic is like kind of the permanent power lock.
Well, I suppose with this kind of like root thing.
Like, yeah, that she's kept out for offensive reasons, not defensive reasons.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. If it's like that, then you can see why Kabam, out of this root situation, have been so particular about suppressing power. It's been such a triggering thing for them that they have to just go and straight up nerf.
Yeah, but I mean, I know we're talking about like unavoidable damage, but there's more. There's a lot more counters to her now.
Yeah,
than there were before because we've got some, degen immune champions, and I think there's ways to play around her that you couldn't do before.
Can we have six?
At sort of a wider level.
Yeah, can we have 6-star Quake when there's already 10 stars? I suspect so then, but it depends what content is going to be meta to kind of have in. Nia says, I think Magic will be the next featured unavailable damage. Bring it on people with the lose units and money. A Mega Sentinel 7-star. I think that wasn't that in the Titan Crystal select choice of option.
He was in the vote. Yeah,
he was in the vote.
Colossus won, but he was in the vote. So
I want to say that's
they don't have an issue with that.
Yeah. Fun in the Sun compensation. Well, from what I gather, that's already gone out. So if you haven't got it, I would do a ticket to Kabam because that's probably the best thing to do because it's from a specific account perspective. You would have had to have spent those units on the deals, so the pop-ups and made sure that your solo event wasn't working as intended. So that's gives you an idea there. Kitty is great against Magic, for example. Oh yeah, absolutely. It gives a chance, but I don't know why Kabam maybe is the power lock side of things. That's the key issues there of that.
I think it's the combination of the power lock and the damage recovery from Limbo, right? Because you can recover some of the chip damage. So if you were able to look at, say, an OG Vision, right? Like, power lock's there, but you robot, no willpower, no real damage recovery. Damage is not great.
Yeah.
There's really no way to ramp him up. So. Okay, yeah, surprised Apple, Google. I don't think they can do anything about that. And it's not that. I know there's been the whole issues. I think it was Fortnite was kind of the ones that started this with the lawsuits. But Kabam is not the first game to do this. Pokemon Go, for example, launched their web store a couple months before Contest did. So the big games are headed in this direction.
Yeah, I'm always very surprised about the pricing. I don't know if mine will ever change. I can't. I don't spend in the game as a lot of you know, and if I was to go back and spend, and I would see this. So what I'm kind of got on screen right now, Dan, is the All Father's Odin Vault. For me, it's $200. Like, that's ridiculous. I remember when for me that was like £89, which would at the time probably just shoot over the $120 maybe at the time kind of mark. But it's like that's a lot of money. That's a lot more money than it used to be. So the web store is specific in that if I was to spend, I would get better value. Like, I think it's equivalent to like $100 on the app store, so on the web store. So do I want to lose $100 when I can go to the web store?
Right.
It's just that's the thing. I'd rather kind of like avoid, and that's why I think Well, I don't know why it's that price. I don't know why a lot of these are kind of inflated the way they are. It's kind of it's a very weird situation.
Yep. Executed has a question I love. 3 to 5 stars being more outdated. Never. How do you feel about lower level Karina challenges? I don't know that's how I would want to do that, but
No.
I love content that is star level restricted. I know they've done some
Yeah.
danger room stuff there. I thought the variant that they did that with
Yep.
had some. Which one was that?
4.
4 or 5?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
4.
4. That was one of my favorite variants.
Yeah.
I really, really liked that. Especially where it's something permanent and it kind of gives you time to invest in it. That was a lot of fun. I just remember I think it was 3-star Night Thrasher got me through a bunch of stuff. Like, it was just some random champs I never get to play. And I love excuses to play lower star level champs and champs that I might not have at a higher level or don't get to play often. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, it's probably hard from, a development perspective to say, hey, I know we're pushing 7 stars right now, but let's make a 2 or 3-star quest. And sometimes they do the arena, but I really enjoy it. And I would love to see that, even if it's just once a year.
Well, this is the thing that
come up.
They added the shooting star quest, and it was like, okay, that's good. 7 stars, get it. Bit annoying though, because it was incredibly restrictive, and that's kind of like future-proofing it. It's like if we had something similar, but that was for lower. But then I don't know where Ascension plays into it, because I thought this was more.
We're
more
still waiting on that.
Yeah, I know it's 4 and
really
5s.
For 6 stars. Yeah.
But it's like, well, where's this? You're right, another variant, but they seem to be done with variants. There was something that I wanted to pick up on that was somebody. But which one was it that was kind of a? That's it. Is the gold event ever going to come back? Whereas we buy 6-star crystals, I don't think we're ever going to get that come back. Like we've just gone too long without it to go. A Kabam willing to put this back. I liked it. A lot of people had the option as well with the trading awakening gems, trading 5-star awakening gems for 6 stars. Now the because things are different, aren't they? That the rarity of 6-star awakening gems is being depreciated, so it means that they're more available. Kabam won't do that. But
and wasn't there something that they didn't like, the hoarding aspect of people expecting some of these trade-in events?
Yeah,
that was part of it.
Which is there's hypocrisy to that, and going like, well, you hoard incursion artifacts in order to get some of the rarer kind of like crystals, and you now have to hoard back units because now they don't want you to hoard revives to use that in content. You have to hoard units in order to buy revives and health potions and refills to get yourself through content. So I don't know. There's a lot of times I do despair with things that Kabam say. Sometimes it's always best to be quiet about certain stuff, because otherwise you just end up looking a bit like a fool, fool of a took.
You never quite know when they're gonna throw you a curveball. Oh, I didn't think they were gonna do that.
No, not at all.
They said they weren't. And here we are.
Oh dear. Right, I think that's a good point to end on. We've done a little bit of communications with stuff. We'll have to see whether or not we can make this a regular kind of thing to then come and do either live or recorded on a Sunday for the podcast. But there we go. Dan, what are you planning to do this week, or hoping to do this week? Are you trying to get a certain amount of points in Battlegrounds?
This week, Battlegrounds, a little more Act 8.2. Those are the 2 big priorities for me. And other than that, just working a lot, and can't really see it, but behind me, this room is kind of my music studio.
Oh, lovely.
And I just bought a new Yamaha keyboard. I got to get set up after this.
Nice.
And I've been doing some music recording, some original music with some friends that I haven't played music with in a long time.
Do you think you might be recording it and putting it out?
Yeah, we're working on some stuff, so we may end up putting out some music sometime later this year. So just trying to find time between life and the game and being a dad and a husband, and doing all the things that need to be done to get through this life, and finding a little time for some fun hobby stuff. as well, which I'm sure you know the feeling of.
Yeah,
What about you, Rich?
I want to do some more hobby stuff, but I'm just kind of I'm getting too much involved with the MCOC grind at the moment. I think that's going to be it. I'm going to focus on getting my Battlegrounds done, get up to that 400k, and things are going well for that. I've got this Xbox that I bought it's coming up to like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't unboxed it. It's still sealed. I have not had the time to get it sorted.
I know the feeling. My keyboard's been in the box since Monday.
Yeah, life. That's life, always
man.
the way.
Yeah, life. It's always something, and I think I'd mentioned my truck's in the shop. When I got to work at 5:30 on Friday, I was locking up the building. I walk out and turn the key, and nothing happens. And I was like, I really just wanted to go home and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But
are you using
what are those?
Are you using a rental at the moment, or?
I just borrowed. My dad is in town and he's retired. It's like, take my truck. It's fine. So yeah, so that helps. But it's one of those one more things.
Yeah.
And my wife had already left. She was up in Maine for the weekend. So I was like, I'm 41 years old and I gotta call my dad to pick me up at work.
Dad, can you pick me up at work, please?
I was like, my truck doesn't work. He's like, we gotta jump it. And it's like, no, I got power. I think it's a starter. It's like, all right, I'll be right down. It's one of those. So it's always something rich. But
yeah.
I think we want to say thank you for everyone who jumped in with the chat at the last minute, and we really appreciate everyone's support with the podcast.
Yeah.
And yes, Chris, my dad, 81, going strong, still fixing trucks. He makes me climb into them. Now he won't do that. But it is good to have family around that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Wishing as well a happy birthday to Chief of MCC's daughter, Janaya. I want to say it's Janaya. I was thinking of saying that right. It's a happy third birthday, which is going to be celebrating the third birthday tomorrow. How lovely! Hopefully you have a lovely day. And that's
happy
us.
Birthday.
And that's us for the podcast. And we'll see you all soon, everybody. So this is podcast going out later on. So bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.